going on, YouTube? Welcome back. It's going to be the final update on Mr. Perfect because, my friends, we've done it. It took 6 months since we launched this channel, but I told you I was going to finish my music. Finally, I'm 37 years old. Been working on music. It's like 20 years ago was my first ever recording. Uh, it was my punk band in the garage, and I've been recording off and on ever since. Sometimes absolutely obsessively, sometimes like really lazily. Um, but I said I was here and I was serious, and we were gonna get our music on the streaming platforms and everything. And Mr. Perfect is live. So Apple Music right now, go and find it. 99 cents. You can buy it. You can stream it. I don't care what you do. Just listen to it. Just give me some plays. I hope you love it. I love it. It'll be live on Spotify in a few days. Amazon. It'll be literally everywhere that's notable. It's gonna be. I used Distrokid to get it out there. Here's something funny. I created the account for Creatures of the Edge in 2020 on Distrokid. That's how long it's been that I have been expecting to release music, and then the pandemic hit, and we had a kid, and then I had a severe bout of depression, and then we had another kid, and then I had more depression, and we were, it's crazy. Um, and then, along came 2023, and, the girls are, at least right now, they're 3.5 and 2. And, so about 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago is when I started kind of brainstorming this whole operation. I just decided that I needed to be working on something for myself in addition to raising them, because the kids will run you ragged, man. It's all about them all the time. And I don't get a lot of time with adults anymore. I don't know really any musicians. I don't play with anyone. No one really even knows I'm a musician. Half my friends barely know that this is happening. Um, so yeah, so I just this workflow with being here with you guys live on YouTube, and then also having the girls to kind of limit the wheels spinning, has been crucial for me. It turns out, I stated my intentions live for you all to hear, and that was the accountability I needed to go. You can't back down now, dude. You can't start this channel and post 50 videos and never post a song. So, since the last video I think was probably 2.5 weeks ago now, I knew we were close, and I had one more video planned last week, but it just kind of didn't happen. I filmed some stuff. I'll put them on the side here. I re-recorded some Ride. My daughter EJ and we did some claps together for the song, and so there's a bunch of stuff I've done in the last 2 weeks. I just kind of failed to capture it because I was uncertain of how to go about playing you the song and showing you these changes and the growth in the track, while also making sure that you're still interested enough to go and listen to the final version. So I was just juggling that and kind of, just kind of like I'd sit down and I'd record me playing the ride cymbal. I got a new ride cymbal. I told you it was coming. I never even showed you. I'll bust it out here in a little bit. I know I'm kind of all over the place right now. I'm super amped, man. I'm jazzed up. So basically what happened was about 4 or 5 days ago, I sent the track to my brother who lives in Texas. And my brother was the drummer in our little high school punk band. We played shows at our local fair. We played a couple bigger venues. We opened for some bigger local acts, and then we opened for Pulley once, if you've ever heard of Pulley. Kind of in the skate punk genre. We opened for them once at the Skate Lab, which was really cool. Great memory of mine. And then my brother got really into hip hop for years, and I did some tracks recording for him. But anyways, I trust his ear and his opinion. And I sent it to him, and he told me I should boost the horns. So when he said that, I was like, you're probably right. But I told him, I said, let me tell you honestly what's happening with the horns. I said I buried them in the mix because I wasn't sure that I could make them any better than they were. They weren't great. They were good enough, and definitely good enough to be background and for people to know that they weren't like real horns. When I finally went to boost the volume, I started hearing things that I was just like, you should try to change this. Just spiff it up a little. You know, you don't have to work too long. So like 2 or 3 nights ago, I sat down to work on some horns, and I snuck up. The girls weren't even asleep yet. My wife had just got off work, and I snuck up, and 2 hours later I came down and I was like, I am so sorry, but I just sat down and suddenly it all came to me about how to make the horns work. I started making some new little, just little trumpet runs and stuff, and but nothing crazy. And then the wildest part is I actually took a lot away, in terms of unnecessary octaves and having the full pop horn section. I reduced it to just two trumpets, and it sounds so much better because those two trumpets, I put myself in the shoes of a trumpet player, and I said, I played brass, like my first instrument was trombone. I never played brass in like a band. I played like concert band. And granted, this was 25 years ago, but I mean, I listened to ska, reggae, funk. Horns are everywhere. So I've been listening to it for years. Um, and so I put myself in the shoes of a trumpet player, and I said, what would it sound like if someone was actually standing there rocking out to this song? Like, what would they be doing? And then I was like, you can figure out these articulations, and you don't need any of the. It was really funny. Short tangents. This morning, actually, we were watching Super Kitties with the girls, and in the background they had that trumpet sound that goes, like it was really like a wavy sound. And I was telling her, I was like, I can do that articulation, and the only reason I know about it is because I paid $250 for straight ahead jazz horns, and they have that available. But what I got to telling myself was, I don't need to be doing that necessarily. I just need to make sure that I have the right sustains, and going between legato and staccato when necessary. The falls and the doits and the this and the that. I don't know anything about any of those. I didn't play trumpet. I can hear them, but I was like, I don't necessarily think I need that level of complexity. But there's a middle ground between getting to that level and where I was at, and I found it. So I found it. I sent him the track, and he was like, "Dude, it sounds brighter. It sounds bigger." And I was like, "That's awesome." So I was being a little lazy with it, to be honest with you. I also didn't want to miss my deadline. I told you guys this song was going to be done this month, and I was dedicated to that. I was like, you have to stop just walking up to that deadline and then, moving it, and then saying, oh, well, I got to do this, oh, I got to do that. So I was really close then, like 3 or 4 days ago. And then last night I sat down and I was kind of just going through things, just making sure like I had all the fades were right and everything. And I started looking at my keyboard track, and I literally I had the addictive keys. I had addictive keys left and right hand, and grand piano left and right hand. And I had all these chords on both of them, and it was the same thing. There was like, I filled the whole octave range with all these notes, and it wasn't realistic. You wouldn't be able to play that unless you had 3 or 4 hands. And I don't anticipate having 3 or 4 hands playing keys if this is ever anything. And I don't know that I want it to be, but for the sake of, being safe and being able to reproduce this music live someday, maybe, I did the same thing. I put myself in the shoes of a keyboard player, and I went, okay, imagine your keyboard player. You can have a grand and an electric piano, because I like the way the electric sounds on the treble side. But I used the grand for the low end because it fit better in the song. So I was like, what? And I've been practicing piano. I told you my 2024 New Year's resolution was learning folklore. So I've been playing a lot of piano. Cardigan is what I've been working on most lately, and I just love playing piano. It's super fun. It just sounds so pretty when you hit the chord right. Even the most basic, it sounds so pretty. Uh, and it just makes you feel, you're like, yeah, and I'm playing music. So I'm working on that. And I was like, what would I be doing with my left hand if I had two keyboards? If I had my right hand was playing on a top keyboard and my left hand was playing on a bottom keyboard, and say they were both 49 keys or something. Um, and then last night it happened, man. I took a bunch of stuff out. I reduced it to what would this hand be doing? What would this hand be doing? And uh, I bounced it. I changed the setting on Grand Rhapsody piano from Waves, from like the fat and punchy piano that I had gone with, thinking that's what I needed. You need fat, you need punchy, it needs to be loud, it needs to be. I just turned it to like I think they have a go-to studio grand in there or something. And I turned down some of the key noise from that, and turned down some of the reverb, and then put the same reverb on both. I turned the individual reverbs in both of those VSTs were both playing. And instead of that, you have to imagine that your keyboard player is in one room doing this performance. And so the reverb coming from both should be the same. So that fixed some stuff. I redid a couple chords and I was like, now that I understand what the fingers are capable of doing, I was like, you don't have to play three notes every time. It doesn't have to be that way, So sometimes it's four, sometimes it's two. It's whatever sounded the best. So I revised some parts on the piano. I bounced it, and I'm thinking, oh, I probably just set myself back. I said, but worst comes to worst, I still have mix number 9. I think I got to like final version number 9 of just, where you'd be like, okay, number 5 was a major change with the new horns, but then number 6, I just forgot to unmute them. So something stupid like that. So I saved mix number 9. I was like, this one's pretty close. Went down to my wife's car last night, 'cause she's got nice Bose speakers in there. And that's where it's the car we drive the most. So it's where I hear the most music casually. And I turned it on and I went running inside. I grabbed her and I was like, you have to hear this. And she came out, and like we both almost teared up in the car, because I was like, I did it finally. I have been waiting so long to achieve this quality of sound. And it's really fitting that the song is called Mr. Perfect. Let me tell you why I named it that. Originally, when I wrote the lyrics were about having like a agent or a producer in your ear named Mr. Perfect. And I'm not Mr. Perfect. It was this other guy. And he's in my ear telling me what I'm doing wrong, what I need to look out for, all the things that I should be worried about, all the criticisms that are about to come my way, this and that. That's why the song is called Mr. Perfect. Originally, the lyrics, and like it was kind of lame, which is why you're not hearing them this way. But there was one line in the lyrics way back when that I wrote, like 10 years ago, that said like, Mr. Perfect, you're fired, So that was the gist of the song. So it's really fitting that the song is called that, because the track is not perfect. There's already a couple things I've heard that I could have done differently. But last night, the feeling that I got when I heard the mix that you just heard, and that you're going to hear on Spotify, on Apple, on Amazon, on SoundCloud, on YouTube, on Adapter, on everything that Distrokid will send it to, the version that you're going to hear is the best mix I've ever made, and I didn't want to touch it anymore. And that's the first time I've ever reached that milestone, and that feeling of going like, I'm not messing with this. It's done. I'm not even going to risk ruining something and setting myself back any further. So you can probably hear it in my voice. I know we're already at 15 minutes. This is going to be a little bit longer form video, because I skipped a week and we have a lot to go over. But man, I'm psyched. It feels really good. You don't understand like the type of person that I am. I've lived an adult life that is absolutely terrified of failure and criticism, and somebody discovering that I'm a fraud and this and that. It's been brutal, kind of, it wore down my self-esteem to where, a couple of years ago, I was like a shell of the version that I am today, the guy that I am today. because I just didn't believe in myself in any aspect of life. I barely thought I was going to be able to be a dad. So um, to be succeeding at that, and then also now for my daughters, you know, to be able to say like, oh my, my dad writes music. I was talking to a lady at the park today. She's like, what do you do? And it's like, I hang out with the girls, but I write music in my free time. And she's like, who do you do that for? Like for shows? Or I was like, no, just, for me, really. But really it's for you. Like there's we've been watching the show Super Kitties a lot. There was a song. I hate songs about songs. Uh, and it's one of the reasons why I don't write lyrics anymore, because most of the time I write songs about writing songs. And I think it's good when you're playing it for other musicians because they get it, but you're never going to reach the masses with songs about how hard it is to be a creative mind. Uh, they want love songs and breakup songs and iffy songs and all this stuff. They don't care about that. So, um, but Super Kitty. So sorry, I lost my train of thought. But back to what I was saying, they have this song, "Songs Are for Sharing," and I was hearing that in the car today. And as my daughter was screaming for me to turn off my mix for the 10th time and turn on Super Kitty's music instead. And I was like, that's true though. That's what this is about. This is about. There's 8 billion people in the world. There has got to be. I'll say 1,000. There's got to be 1,000 of you that'll think this is a cool track. And that would mean so much to me to see. I mean, it would mean the world more. Like I don't think about money. It's always been so abstract, the thought of like being a professional musician and making money. Like that's not a thing to me. Um, I just I just want the satisfaction of knowing that maybe you're driving to the beach one day and you got your windows down and you bump this song and it puts you in a good mood. That's like that was the goal. Uh, and I did it finally. And it's really cool. It's a great feeling. I'm super jazzed up. I feel like I haven't been wasting my wife's time and money for the first time in years. I feel less guilty about getting a new ride cymbal. I feel less guilty about the new Sabian AA hi-hats that I have bookmarked. They're used, but I've got them bookmarked to buy, and it's going to happen in the next week or two. I'm not going to be able to not have them because the ride sounded so good. And also, sometimes you got to reward yourself, man. Like I did something that I said I was going to do, and there was a time when I really doubted that I'd follow through on this because I learned to doubt my follow through on everything. Uh, so so yeah, that's a little just a little insight into the mental health aspect of all this. Um, let's get into the music aspect. So let's have a look at this track. Let's kind of go over it and think and check out what it turned out to be because it's a lot. I mean, look at this. There's 56 tracks right now, and there's a couple things that are muted. This VST is inactive because I bounced the horns down to here. This one was just the dead track, so it's probably more like 45 playing all at once. But I've got 3 guitar tracks on each side, left and right. I've got like a crunch guitar, a clean guitar, and then kind of a funky guitar. One's a gritty on the right, one's kind of a wah, I think, on the left, or maybe vice versa. But one bass in this song. For years now, I've been like, I need to combine a synth bass and electric bass. That's the only way I'm ever going to achieve this. No, it's not true. If you just write a good bass part and you track it good with fresh strings into a decent amp, I have, in this case, an amp modeler because I use uh, Neural. I use the Parallax, but I actually use the Corey Wong guitar amp because he's got a couple bass amp settings on there. Um, I got great bass tone. The horns, straight ahead jazz horns, 2 trumpets. That's all you're hearing. They're doubled. I've got like a little. There's effect from Sound Toys. I have the effect rack, and there's like a micro phase, I think it's called, in there. So I do have some like doubling effect going on, and spreading the stereo a little wider and adding some detuning. But it I even questioned putting 2 horns because I don't envision a band with 2 trumpet players. It's not going to be. If it was ever that, I don't think it would be that, but maybe it would. I don't know. I've got two synthesizers here, and I don't think I ever showed you really the synth patches that I came up with for them, but I probably could find them here. Let's see. Oh yeah. So see, I saved everything when I used a VST. I saved the MIDI and I just mute it and hide it. But this is, so I used this raw force was the base setting, and who knows how much I changed. I never just use a preset on a synth, especially on maybe like an EQ from FabFilter. I'll play around with some presets sometimes because there's some odd compression tricks and stuff there where they've really gotten in deep on what that plugin is capable of doing, and I'm just not that deep on it yet. So sometimes by using the presets, it shows me what's possible. But then again, that's also a weakness of mine. This is also another part of Mr. Perfect chirping in my ear, is telling me that if anyone finds out that you used a preset, you're a clown and you don't deserve to live. And that's just not the case, man. You know, you just, I don't have the time to be spinning my wheels like that anymore. You know, I get to sit in here for maybe 3 hours a week, and I got to make those 3 hours count now. And so I started throwing plugins at things, not unnecessarily, but like, don't be afraid to turn it on, crank it, see what it does. If it sucks, take it off. If it's good, back it off a little bit so that it's a little more subtle, and move on. Make a big decision and commit to it and go for it. And that really worked out on this song. It was a formula for success. The other formula for success has been this drum set. You know, this is a Ludwig pocket kit back here, and it's a tiny, like a kid's play drum set. You know, it's not like quite, you wouldn't get it off Amazon, but you know, it's not a full double wood nice kit. You know, I changed all the heads on it. I bought those low volume practice cymbals, and the crashes that you're hearing are those. But they do the job that's needed. They're a little bit too brilliant. But I use some effects to darken them up a little bit. But the ride was the one thing that was, it was not usable. It was usable if you crashed into it, but as a delicate, you know, a ride cymbal, it wasn't happening. So check this out. So this is the new cymbal I got. Sabian AA. Sounds great. There it is right there. This is what you're hearing in the song. And by committing to just these samples, or these two toms are all I used. And at one point I was even like, oh, maybe what I'll do is I'll take the floor tom and I'll detune it into a third tom. I was like, no, you don't have a third tom. Figure out how to make it play with two. You just got to make it work, you know? So I fixed the tuning on them, and I did just that. So that's been a game changer because, again, I'm not spinning my wheels going through a library of 1,000 tom sounds and 100 of them sound sort of decent, you know? It was just like, here's your sound, make it sound good. This is all you have. Hit this tom. Oh God, you know, you hear it at first just raw, and you're like, oh, this is not doable. You know, and you get that Smack Attack plugin on it. Let's see what I did. I actually redid all the toms. So look at this. I got pitch wheel first. And that's how I corrected some, just to fit the song a little better. You correct the pitch and the timbre a little, just a little, you know, +1 here, plus 1.1 or something, just a little bit here. And then some Smack Attack, some EQ, some more EQ to add from the mag, because they got that the air band there that I love, and then the old DBX. I bounced both toms, or sent them to an FX channel with this Klanghelm SDRR, and just put on this tight tom setting, messed around with a couple things. But it just gave it a little more background oomph, and it worked out. You know, like they're not, like I said, they're not perfect sounding toms, but they're damn good for what they are and what I have available to me. I think I ended up re-recording these with the Sennheiser 602, which I was complaining about. I think I mistakenly called it a Shure, so sorry about that, Shure. And sorry, Sennheiser, because it worked great on the toms. I was complaining about the sound of the kick, but I also have, how big is that kick? It's like a 16-inch kick drum. It's tiny. So you're never going to get a big booming kick out of that. So I used the Sennheiser 602 to recapture the toms instead of the SM57, because I haven't been able to afford my Audix mics that I have read are really great for drums, and it worked. So I went with it. What else is in here? I told you about the keys. I reduced it to one left-hand grand, one right-hand addictive keys. The treble is the addictive keys, the E piano. So this is my own patch, Mr. Perfect 1. And down here, I added that sub drop I told you about. We had tambourine, you saw that. Shaker, you saw that. I added snaps. Yeah, you saw that because I did that on the video. And then EJ and I added some claps. And I added one sampled clap just to thicken it up because I kind of did it on the fly and didn't really capture it that well. But the claps are super low in the mix anyways. It was more just to have fun with her and to be able to participate. But yeah, so, I just tried a lot of things and it came together. Let's see what the horns had. They had OTT compressor on it. Those are from the guys from Serum. And then this effect rack is where I had the most stuff. So I got the micro shift, radiator to just add some saturation. And I have this filter freak. Look at this. Tiny bit. But it just adds a little wonkiness and unsteadiness because not all of our voices are going to hold a perfectly sustained. So you need some wavering in there. So I added that. And just the tiniest bit of darkness, crunch, and it only lightly mixed in halfway there. And that worked out pretty good. And then from there, just a filter, but I think I ended up turning that off anyways, because I re-automated everything on the audio version when I bounced it. Got that new piano bass line right there. And then some new thick but possible chords, they're actually real chords instead of just like a bunch of notes. So that sounded great. This was a live played snare. I think I showed you that. There's a super low bass. Listen. It's on the grand piano, just super soft. I mean, the velocity on it was nothing. Let's see here. It was the grand bass line. Look at the velocity on these right here. Nothing on those 4 notes. So those dynamic changes really made it count. I also had room to boost the horns and the keys in the mix, which brightened everything up a lot. And that's something that I think has been a critical mistake. Telling myself that it's too bassy, but it's not. It's actually just not trebly enough. You just need to boost all the instruments. They're just not loud enough. It's not that the bass needs to come down, because I kept driving my levels all the way down until I was like, how are you supposed to make a loud song? It's so complicated. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and I know it's a weird place to be in, because I also know that there's a way for music production to be super easy. And it's maddening how it's evaded me for so long, because I know there's 16-year-old kids doing it in their rooms, making EDM dubstep hits, I was just talking to my uncle too, my cousin Dorian. Check his channel out. It's called Bodie, Bodii. He's a DJ now in the LA area, and got a song. I didn't even know the dude made music. Dorian, hope you're doing well, brother. You got to come visit me now that I'm back in California. He's got like 10,000 views on Spotify, which is crazy. So, it's just a little bit of a weird position, because I went to Musicians Institute. I've played in bands. I've been doing this for 20 years, and here I am just getting going at 37 years old. But I've been kind of a late bloomer in a lot of aspects of life. I'm also surfing better than I've ever surfed in my life for some reason at 37, despite how bad my body hurts after. So it's just kind of a par for the course for me personally. But let's talk about Distrokid real quick. If I already talked about this, I'll edit it out. But so yeah, Distrokid, I had researched and made an account, and I started doing some stuff, and I found the top 10 different things that you could use, the top 10 distribution services, and sometimes it was on there, and sometimes it was at the top, sometimes it was not on there, and I was just like, you know what? I think the best course of action is to just go with DistroKid for this one. And if I don't like it or I want to try something else, maybe that's a good way to review these things for you in your future endeavors with music. I might be able to simplify something, a decision on that front for you, which would be great. So I went with DistroKid, and I paid for the Leave a Legacy. I think it was $29, and they'll never take your song down, because I don't know that I want to commit to paying them every year. I mean, what if in 5 years their prices are 500% of what they are now, and I'm not getting any plays? That would suck. So I paid to have it stay up. Um, and I think overall to have their little last phase mastering thing that just kind of normalized the volume. I bounced at SoundCloud normalization levels, which is also the same for most of the other ones. It was like minus 14 LUFS and minus one whatever it was. These are technical things that I haven't even paid attention to yet, because I've never even got there. So I don't even know. Uh, but so I had already bounced at that, but when I plugged it in a spot to DistroKid, it was like, for $10 we can renormalize your track, and it'll get a like a little seal of approval that it's at this volume by this service. And so I was like, yeah, let's go with it. It sounded good. It made the overheads maybe just a tad brighter than I would have wanted them. But that being said, I only feel that way after having listened to it in my car. I listened to it on my speakers, my monitors, which are PreSonus E8s, I think. Um, and I listened to them on these, which are, what are these? Bayer Dynamic DT 990 Pro. And then from there, Apple, not AirPods, the old earbud wire headphones. I haven't even heard it on my AirPods yet. My wife's car and my car. And I think that's all I've heard it on. But they were all so consistent that I just was like, this is it, dude. I'm putting it on the internet. I'm done with this song. I don't want to work on it anymore. I don't want to talk. I just want to hear it, and I just want you guys to hear it. And I want to move on and make another one that hopefully you'll like too. So DistroKid's what we went with. Like I said, it'll take about 5 to 7 days probably for it to get to some of the services, but I know Pandora is going to take a couple weeks, but it's curated, so I might end up on some playlists. Spotify, there's an additional thing that DistroKid allows you to do where you can also, I think it's like $5 a year. They will give you the contact information for some of the top playlist curators, and that way you can reach out to them and see if you can get your song on there. So that is something that I might do. $5 a year is not unreasonable at all, I don't feel like. But I was just a little hesitant to commit to that right now, just because I didn't want to just be like, I have all the money in the world to throw at this, whatever, give me all the options. Let's be a little frugal and a little basic to start, and make sure that we're not paying for things that are unnecessary to us. But because I do still have plenty of other upgrades and things that I want to do. But I think the last thing I wanted to talk about was, just for anyone else that comes along, I don't know if it might never happen. But in 3 years, if I have a lot of subscribers and, maybe people are listening to my music and you're just finding this channel, I want you to know what this actually set me back, and I would say since June 2023, I have probably spent $6,000 on all this. That's a rough guesstimate. It might not be that high. It might be I can't imagine it's much higher. But my laptop was 3 grand. That's like the top of the line. It was the second to the top of the line Mac. Um, and I knew that I needed that to be able to broadcast and do 50 tracks at once on a song. I also have a photo editing program open at this moment. I have Filmora open for video editing at this moment. So I use Affinity instead of Photoshop and Adobe now. So I have Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo open on my desktop with several files open on each, because I'm constantly making thumbnails and stuff for the videos and doing some graphic work and stuff. I've got Wondershare Filmora, which is how I edit the videos and kind of compile things together. I've got OBS open broadcasting software or whatever it is. I have Studio One open and Apple Music open, and I've never had a buffering issue. So I spent some cash on that. The other big ticket thing that I got was the Scarlett, what is mine? The 18i20. So it's from Focusrite. It's, a proper interface that has, I guess it's probably eight channels at once. The goal was to be able to mic a whole drum kit with one interface. So I think that was $500 maybe. That's 4 grand. The drum set was probably 500 in total with all the upgrades. The keyboard was another 200 or 300. The mic stands and the microphones have probably been another 500. So yeah, it's climbing up there, And if that's shocking to you, I get it, man. I don't work. My wife brings home all the bacon, and I felt really guilty spending this money. But at some point, you get to a point in life where like you have to be able to believe in yourself enough to say, I'm going to make this investment and I'm not going to fail. And and even if I fail, I'm not going to quit. That's been the problem in my life. I've been so afraid to fail that I wouldn't even get started, because I also don't want to be a quitter. So sometimes I just don't start things. I think about them, or I never get to the point where things could get real. So it's really great to have broken that streak. So I think that about does it for this update, and I guess for the song Mr. Perfect. I encourage you to go find it on whatever service you pay for and you listen to. And I hope you love it, man. I think it's an awesome track, and I know the next one's going to be even better, because I learned so much about what it takes to do this. And it's funny at the same time how little I did from what I previously knew how to do over all these years. It was just it was a lot of workflow stuff that changed the game for me. And if there's anything that you're able to take away from my experience, that's my biggest hope by making these videos, is to either provide you with entertainment. If you need, in this case, 40 minutes of your day, you just want to chill and listen to some dude ramble in his house, awesome. Or if you're looking for people to kind of help you on your journey, then I don't think I'm gonna ever declare that I've got it all figured out. I just don't think I have that personality. You're not gonna really see videos from me that are tutorials. I mean, I know I tried to do one, but it feels weird. Sometimes I feel like I'm faking it till I make it too. And I think a lot of humans are on this planet. And I encourage you when the time comes to do the same. Because otherwise you just sit there and mull things over so long that you just go, screw it, So yeah, that's that, man. Check out Mr. Perfect, Creatures of the Edge, Mr. Perfect on all the streaming platforms now or soon. And for those of you that have followed along through this, thank you so much. For those of you that join later, and check this out. Welcome and have fun. And thank you, most importantly. And we're going to get started on another one real soon. I should probably jump back to Rumination and finish that up. I feel a little tempted to just start with something fresh, not a new song necessarily, but an old song that just needs to be rebuilt from the ground up. Just because sometimes it's a little, you end up doing double the work, deciding whether to get rid of old stuff that you did, or try to make it work. It sometimes it creates kind of a more stressful situation than just sitting down and creating from scratch. But we're going to get Rumination done. I love that song. And I think it's going to be awesome too. But there's two other ones that you won't see both of them at once, but there's two other ones that I'm stuck between working on right now that you might also see pop up here in the near future. So thanks again, guys. Sorry that I rambled so long. And subscribe, like the video, like the song, download the song, buy the song, whatever you want. Just give it a few plays for me. And for you, if you dig it, I hope it makes a good party, or makes a good drive or whatever you need it to do. I really appreciate you all checking out the channel, and I'm really stoked to be doing this and looking forward to making more music and sharing it with you soon. We'll talk to you later.